Library families, it's Kathleen here from the Bozeman Public Library with another story time for you today. I hope you're having a wonderful winter. I hope you're doing snow dances like I am wishing it would snow. Hopefully we'll get some soon. And I have a special story time today that I'm going to have you guess what it's about. Now how we're going to guess is I'm going to play you a sound of what this is about, and you can make some guesses what you think it is. Okay, so everyone put on your listening ears and listen for just a minute. Did you hear that? Let's listen again. Do you have a guess what that might be? I'll give you some hints. The first letter of this animal makes a p, p, p sound with a P. Give you a minute to let that soak in. The word for this, I'm guessing you know it's an animal by now, rhymes with roller. Roller rare. Did you think of it? It's a type of bear that lives way up north. Polar bear. You got it. Nice. Yeah, we're going to read stories today about polar bears. And polar bears are really interesting animals. The polar bears live way up north in the Arctic Circle. If you were to look down on the earth, you would see they live right around the circle. I've got a picture I'll show you right there. And they live up there in the cold. Their bodies are made for living up there, as we'll find out when we read here. They love the cold. They love to eat the food. They love to swim in the ocean and play on the ice. And polar bears are one of the biggest, they say they're probably the biggest bear in the world. Here's another little thing. Did you know that their skin is black? And their fur isn't really white. It's actually clear. But the way the light hits it, it looks like it's white. So a couple facts about polar bears, but let's read a little bit more. I want you to think about what you might already know about polar bears. So think in your brain, what do I know about bears, polar bears? I just told you a few things, but is there anything you knew about before? Do you maybe know what they eat? Do you know maybe what their babies are called? What's another type of bear's babies called? It starts with a C and it rhymes with blub. Cub. That's right. Their babies are called cubs. Their favorite food to eat, it's a living creature that lives up there with them at the Arctic Circle. And it rhymes with, we're doing lots of rhyming today, aren't we? It rhymes with meal. I could write a little song about that. The polar bear's favorite meal is seals. It rhymes, meals and seals. Let's learn a little bit about polar bears. This is called a polar bear's world. It's written and pictures, means it's illustrated by Carolyn Arnold. And let's see. We're not going to read this whole book because it's a little bit long, but if you're a kiddo who likes to know facts and information about things, especially animals or space or things like that, you can certainly check out books from our nonfiction section. And you can check out books real easily by just calling us on the phone. We'll gather the books you wish to have and we'll have them ready for curbside pickup. So feel free to call us at the Children's Library for that. All right. So at first page here, we have some facts and information. They live in Alaska, Canada, Greenland, Norway, and Russia. They like seals and walruses and beached whales for their meals. Their habitat, or the place they live, their environment, is the Arctic ice sheet, coastlines, and tundra. Arctic ice sheet, I'm guessing, is a big piece of ice that probably stays ice for a long time, way up in the Arctic Circle. Birds fall in the Arctic and already a blanket of snow covers the ground. A polar bear finds a deep drift of snow. Using her huge paws as shovels, she digs a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, she hollows out room for a den. She curls up and goes to sleep. In a couple of months, her cubs will be born. It's kind of like a cave, a den. It's early January. The sky is dark both day and night. Inside the den, the mother polar bear has just given birth to 2 tiny cubs. They are covered in thin white fur. Their eyes are closed tight. The mother bear holds the cubs on her belly and they drink her milk. The tiny polar bears grow quickly. In about 3 months, they are ready to go outside for the first time. Their eyes are open and their thick fur keeps them warm. The polar bear cubs follow their mother onto the frozen ocean. That must be the ice sheet. The mother bear is very hungry. She sees a dark shape ahead. It's a seal, her favorite food. The cubs watch her sneak across the ice. When she gets close to the seal, she pounces and eats it quickly. By summer, almost all of the sea ice has melted. The polar bear family comes to shore. The mother bear is fat from eating so many seals in the spring. She rests while the cubs explore. The young bears push and shove and one another in play fights. This keeps them growing strong. By late fall, the ocean freezes again. Now the polar bears can go back on the ice. Sharp claws and leathery pads keep their feet from slipping. When the bears come to the edge of the ice, they leap into the water, splash. When swimming, the polar bears paddle with their front feet and steer with their back feet. The mother polar bear is teaching her cubs how to hunt. She sniffs the air and smells a seal. She waits by its breathing hole. Do you see that little hole? She sits down and waits, and she does not move. She knows the seal will come up soon to breathe air. After she catches the seal, she shares the meal with her cubs. All winter long, the polar bear family wanders across the ice. When they stop to rest, the cubs drink milk. If a blizzard blows, they all curl up in a hollow in the snow. They wait for the storm to pass. By spring, the 1-year-old cubs have already learned a lot about hunting seals, but they still need practice. They'll stay with their mother through another summer and winter. Now the polar bear cubs are almost 2 years old. They are almost full grown. One day, a male polar bear follows the family. He chases the cubs away and mates to have more babies with their mother. In the fall, the polar bear will dig a new den and have new cubs. Her big cubs have learned to hunt seals and take care of themselves. They already are ready to be on their own. Do you think when you were 2 you could be on your own? No. Now here's a picture I was telling you about. If we could look down on the very top of the earth, that little dotted circle is where most of the polar bears live. Wow, if you want to know more about polar bears, we've got lots of books about them at the library. I've got another book for us to read called A Polar Bear in the Snow. You can see that he's really white. It's by Mac Barnett, and art is by Sean Harris. Thank you so much for letting me read this book with my friends. This one is interesting because it uses collage, which is when you cut up paper or other things and glue them down to make a picture. So you can make a collage. It's really fun to do. And we're going to read this book, and then I'll show you today's craft. Look at that cute polar bear. Oh, so cute. There's a polar bear in the snow. Do you see him? He's just white, isn't it? Still asleep, he lifts his nose to sniff the air. Can you move your nose? Sniff, sniff. And he awakens. There is a polar bear in the snow. Where is he going? Now, we just learned a lot about polar bears. Where do you guess he's going? Is he going to visit the seals? No, he's not hungry. Is he going to hunker down, snuggle down in a cave? No, his fur protects him from the storm. Oh, do you see what's in there? There's another little family of, maybe those are Arctic wolves looking out. Is he going to meet a man? Roar, no. Can you roar? There is a polar bear in the snow. Where is he going? Oh, he's going into the sea. He wants to play. Oh, isn't that a beautiful picture? He's underwater doing a little swimming dance. And when he is done playing and he climbs back onto the snow, where will he go then? I love that little picture. It's the back side of him, isn't it? Who knows? You can see his footprints barely. I think those pictures are really interesting. You can see this one with the back side of him. I think it's just white paper, and then the artist cut out more white paper and kind of made it stand out a little bit so it looks kind of three-dimensional. That's a pretty neat way to make art. Back to this roaring picture. I found online the actual sound a polar bear makes, so I'm going to play it for you now. And I'll show you this picture to go along with it. Are you ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Do it at home with me. Roar! That's a polar bear roaring. Pretty neat. I have another book for us to read. This one's more of a story you might recognize. Some of you might know the story about Goldilocks and the 3 bears. Can you think of that, where Goldilocks goes in the woods and she knocks on the door of the bears, but they're not home because they are out walking, waiting for something to cool. Do you remember what they're waiting to cool in their house? Porridge. It's kind of like oatmeal. But this is the story of the 3 snow bears. And you'll see we have a little bit different character of Goldilocks. Here we go. Thank you, Jan Bratt. She made this book with the pictures and the story as kind of a folktale retelling. Come back, Aluki shouted as her huskies floated out to sea. Oh no! She knew that although an ice floe is a good place to fish, it's a bad place to lose your dog team. Not far away, a snow bear family has just started to eat their breakfast, but it was way too hot for Baby Bear. Ow, yelled Baby Bear, my breakfast burned my mouth. We'll go for a stroll and let the soup cool, Mama Bear said. Aluki was running along looking for her dogs when she came upon the biggest igloo she had ever seen. Who lives here, she wonders. So you see, the igloo is made out of snow, and it keeps people warm. Aluki ducked inside. Right away, she smelled something delicious. Across the room, she saw a big bowl, a medium-sized bowl, and a small bowl. Surely the good smell was coming from the 3 bowls. Aluki took a sip from the biggest bowl. Ow, she cried, too hot. She took a sip from the middle-sized bowl. Ooh, too cold. She tipped up the littlest bowl and drank every drop. She said, not too hot, not too cold. In the next room, Aluki spotted 3 pairs of beautiful boots standing in a row. She put on the biggest boot. Too big, she said. She put on the middle-sized boot. Too fancy, she said. She put on the littlest pair. Just right, she said, wiggling her toes in the soft fur lining. Aluki walked into the last room and found a long sleeping bench piled high with fur covers. Heat from an oil lamp warmed her cheeks and made her sleepy. Time for a nap, she thought. She crawled under the highest mound of covers. Too lumpy, she grumbled. She tried the middle bed with the furry fringe cover, but it sank down so far she could hardly breathe. Too soft, she said. She rolled over into the smallest sleeping place. The furry blanket was cozy and warm, and the pillow was just her size. Just right, Aluki murmured, and was asleep before she could take her boots off. If Aluki hadn't fallen asleep, she might have heard her dogs barking happily. Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear had spotted the dogs adrift in the strong current and had gone out to save them. The Snow Bear family was pushing Aluki's dog team back toward their igloo to safety. Papa Bear crawled into the igloo and saw his big bowl sitting in a pool of spilled soup. Someone has been tasting my soup, he roared. Mama Bear rushed in and saw that her soup had been sloshed around too. Someone has been sipping my soup, she growled. Someone found my soup, sputtered Baby Bear in her high squeaky voice, and they ate it all up. Papa Bear ran into the next room and saw his boots in the middle of the floor. "Someone's been trying on my boots," he boomed in his big bear voice. Mama Bear put on her fancy boots. "Someone had these boots on too," she huffed, "and my fur's all bunched up." Baby Bear saw that her boots had disappeared. "Someone's taken my boots and left behind these not-so-good ones," she wailed. The bears ran into their bedroom. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," Papa Bear bellowed. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed too," Mama Bear cried. Baby Bear peeked at her little bed and squeaked, "Someone has been sleeping in my bed, and here she is." Aluki opened her eyes and saw 3 bare noses just inches away. How would you feel if you woke up to bears? She hopped out of bed and dove between Papa Bear's huge furry legs. Quicker than a seal, Aluki ran from room to room until she could burst outside. Her huskies bounced around, barking and smiling their doggy grins. Aluki and her dogs flew over the frozen ice, dodging ridges and cracks. She looked back to wave a thank you to the snow bears. She couldn't see them, but she heard a big, gruff voice, a middle-sized voice, and a high, squeaky voice calling to her. "Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye." I did that one rather quickly. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, like I said before, with Goldilocks and the 3 bears. There were some differences, though, and some similarities. So it looks like they both went for a walk. The bears went to walk to cool off their soup, not their porridge. And Goldilocks was out walking. I think in the Goldilocks and the 3 bears, when she comes in, she tastes the porridge, but then she sits on a chair. Do you remember that? In this book, she's trying on boots. And then the last part is the beds. The beds were kind of the same, weren't they? She goes and tests out the beds. So it's kind of fun to have a different version of a folktale. We have lots of versions of different folktales at the library. We have lots of different versions of Goldilocks, Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. There's so many wonderful stories told from different cultural point of views, and we would love to gather them up for you and put together a book bundle. So let's do a quick craft and then you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining me for this story, and let's move on to the craft. Bye. All right, I'm back to show you what our craft is for today. I'm sure you can guess it has something to do with polar bears. So I made this fun little polar bear with movable legs. And it also has some fur. I didn't put any on my legs, but you can certainly do that if you would like. But let me show you what you're gonna do. You're gonna get one of these, and you're gonna cut these pieces out. You have to cut really carefully around the eye and the ear. If you need some help from your parents, that's just fine. And you'll cut out the legs. You'll notice there's 2 different sized legs. Which ones do you think, why do you think that is? I think it says back legs and front legs. Back legs are usually more powerful on animals. So make sure you put those on the back of the body. Then you're gonna get 4 of these little things called brads. Can you see what that looks like? It's kind of hard to show you. It's a little metal thing, and you might need an adult's help with this part too. But you open it up and you stick it through a hole and then you close it. I'll show you. So you can see it's right here, these little brads. And on the back side, see, I've opened it and I've closed it. And that's what hooks those legs on and makes them movable. So you put it through, you close it. You do need to have a hole punch to punch those little holes. If you don't have a hole punch, you can have an adult help you maybe with a pencil poke through there, but be sure you get an adult. And then I just glued on the eye and the ear and this fuzzy fur. Do you remember about polar bear fur? That it's clear and not white? I think if you look at this, it might be clear as well. We'll have to, if you have a magnifying glass, you might want to look real closely at that. Anyhow, you can call the library, request this craft along with your book bundle. Remember, you can call for book bundles and pick those up at curbside, and we'll put together a great bundle of books that you request. You can give us your children's ages and their interests, or you can give us specific titles, and we'll put together a book bundle for you to pick up right here at the library. All right, thanks. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.